Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast.
I feel like Jonathan Taylor, who is running back 6 overall, and over the last quarter of the season, weeks 13 through 16, where it really mattered the most, he was running back 3 overall in PPR leagues. I love the fact that he totally demolished my concern about his drop rate. He had over 90% drop rate, best hands out of all the running backs coming in his class.
90% catch rate, not drop rate.
Catch rate, even better.
Which is better than
the other one.
Yeah, it's about 90% better than the drop rate. So fantastic there. Great offensive line. Doesn't matter who the quarterback situation is going forward, because it does not matter for Jonathan Taylor. He is going to be a beast for the next 3-4 years easily here. Now, I would prefer CeeDee Lamb for that long-term effect in Dynasty, but why take CeeDee Lamb and hope he outproduces Amari Cooper and hope that Dak resigns when I can take Jonathan Taylor here, and whenever I am ready to move him, say in about 2 years, so I get my 3 years out of my hashtag 2 to 3 year window, I think Jonathan Taylor is a hashtag 3 to 4 year window kind of guy. Right around year 3, I can trade Jonathan Taylor for CeeDee Lamb or any other receiver for that most, because I expect Jonathan Taylor to be a top 6 running back for the foreseeable future. I look at him as a better asset than Derrick Henry. I look at him as a better asset than many running backs. There's not many running backs right now in this game today that I would rather have over Jonathan Taylor. And what I like about him too is he's safe. You know, what he does with the offensive line, he's safe. Where Kamara, no Brees. We saw what happened with no Brees, right? Took a big dip. Pass catching's a big part of his game. Okay. Not Jonathan Taylor. That's all bonus. He's Derrick Henry with good hands and opportunity there. Even with Nyheim Hines, who's a pass catcher running back, that doesn't really overly affect Jonathan Taylor as well. This class is so special, and Jonathan Taylor is just another cog in that puzzle, right? You can go many different ways here, but Jonathan Taylor to me is easily my number 2 pick here.
Yeah, I was nervous, even for somebody that was in on Jonathan Taylor. He was my 1-1 post-draft. I thought it was a hand-in-glove fit. Even I was a little bit nervous, like, what is going on? Like, what I am seeing on the field does not translate to what I saw on tape. It doesn't make sense. But sometimes these rookies, it just takes them a little bit of time to get everything figured out. They weren't using him consistently either, which you can tell sometimes he just was about to get into a rhythm and then it wasn't his turn anymore and they would take him out. Once they finally let him get in that rhythm, he got comfortable. We saw him just absolutely take off. I've done a ton of mocks already. I haven't done any startups. I've been holding back as long as I possibly can from doing a new startup. But I actually have not, in one QB leagues, I have not seen him go outside of the top 8 overall picks yet. And every time he's always been inside the top 4 or 5 running backs as well. So it's at that point where even above Justin Jefferson, which I have no problem with him going 1-1 here in our draft, but I've actually seen Jonathan Taylor just because people are starved for running backs and blah, 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 blah.
Right. No, the depth at the position is completely different. Yep.
But yeah, that's the point that we're at right now. The only person that consistently he's been behind is Christian McCaffrey. Anybody else he's been above in at least 1 or 2 drafts. So that's the point we're at with Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly a guy like him can just jump a guy like Saquon, which I would still take Saquon over Jonathan Taylor.
I have Saquon higher too.
As do I, yeah. But Jonathan Taylor here at number 2 makes total sense to me, almost 17 points per game. And like you guys were alluding to, there was a point in the middle of the season where we were all kind of like, is this guy going to get it figured out? And then the whole second half of the season, he just exploded. Yep.
I feel like it was his vision that clicked. Like he just processed to get, like, my biggest concern is like, oh my God, is this the Isaiah Crowell effect? Like, is this the kind of guy who's super talented, but he just can't read the NFL field? Like he's running the back of the offensive lineman. And all of a sudden, once he got that down and showed a little bit of patience, it was literally sky's the limit.
Preseason, he was my running back 1. He ended up falling to running back 3 post-draft. But I loved everything that we had talked about as soon as he landed in Baltimore, because everyone was talking about how good of a landing spot it is for CEH, how good of a landing spot it is for Jonathan Taylor. And both those things were true, but it was also a really, really good landing spot for J.K. Dobbins. And I just don't think it was being talked about enough how good of a landing spot it was for him. We know he's a talented player. He fit in really well with Lamar. We just saw that Mark Ingram got cut. They released him.
Yep.
He's gone. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards could be back.
Restricted free agent.
He might not be.
Yep.
You know, so we're going to have to wait and see if they re-sign him. There's other teams that could be interested. But even if he's back, over the second half of the season, J.K. Dobbins was such a reliable player. Overall finished in 17 weeks in PPR settings as a running back 2. He was running back 24 overall. But look at what he was doing in the second half of the season. Every single game from week 11 on, excluding the last week of the season, he ended up and this is including playoffs, except for this past week against Buffalo, he had a touchdown. They were counting on him every single game. He scored a touchdown in there and never got above 15 carries, but we see a lot of 70-yard weeks, even got as many as 160 against Cincinnati there at the end. So there's going to be a lot of yards. There's going to be a lot to do in this offense. Lamar Jackson seemed to figure it out, and that was coinciding right at the same time that we saw J.K. Dobbins really start to ball out over the course of this season. So my tiniest concern, if I had to say there was one concern with J.K. Dobbins, because I think he's going to be a running back 1 for a while. My only concern is how many targets is he going to get in the passing game? That's my only concern, but I think he'll do enough on the ground, and his 1 to 2 catches here or there will be enough to keep him in the legitimate RB1 discussion for the next 3-4 seasons.
So I did a little bit of analysis, and I agree with you, but I was looking at a fantasy points per touch. Mm-hmm. So that's just combining their carries and their catches, seeing what kind of fantasy input or fantasy production you can expect out of every touch that a player gets.
Sure.
And there was only one running back that was higher than J.K. Dobbins. He's over a point. He's 1.11 points per touch. There's only one guy higher, and it's DeAndre Swift. So I think it's telling in the fact that Mark Ingram's going to be gone next year. Obviously, he's off the team, and Gus might be gone, or at least it's trending in a direction where J.K. Dobbins is getting more work.
Right.
So I think with that kind of expected per touch total, I mean, you're looking at an over 300 point guy if he gets 300 combined carries and receptions. And that's nothing to sneeze at. Those are going to put you in that upper echelon of the running back 1 conversation. So I really do think it's a matter of time before J.K. Dobbins really breaks out and they start giving him the rock as much as I think he deserves it.
Oh, I agree 100%. He's a very talented runner. Fits the scheme, like you said, perfectly in this RPO action kind of scheme. No Mark Ingram's going to help. They still have to realize for this team to actually go into the postseason and actually win football games that they want to do. It's great that Lamar dominates the regular season. That's great.
Yep.
But the fact that he gets to the postseason and just gets completely shut down, it shows you that kind of quarterback is great for fantasy football. It's fantastic, but it's not a Super Bowl winning recipe, right? 2 years ago, Greg Roman was the talk of the town. This year, they're like, is Greg Roman even going to come back? What is he doing here? Now, the Ravens came back a little bit here, but they're going to have to rely on this running game a little bit more. They're going to have to invest in this draft that's really deep at receiver, probably in another receiver. They can use Miles Boykin's nice, but he's a nice wide receiver 3. They need a big guy. J.K. Dobbins, they got Mark Andrews as well, who's their number 1 receiver. But the real thing that turns around is going to be using Mark Jackson in a play action kind of role as well. And using that to get him on the outside. But J.K. Dobbins is the answer to the Ravens' problems for them taking a step forward. That's where they got to go. J.K. Dobbins will help Lamar Jackson and help his rushing as well. But J.K. Dobbins, like you said, he looked good. Clyde Edwards-Helaire got hurt at the end of the year.
Yep.
He did.
Finishes running back 22, nonetheless. I think the big thing to remember, we were talking about go back with CeeDee Lamb a little bit, right? What he was doing with Dak. All the way up until he got hurt. Throughout the entire year, not like Jonathan Taylor, who had a late surge, right? Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a running back 1. And he took some time to get into that offense and get acclimated to the point where they had to bring in Le'Veon Bell to offset him a little bit too. But he's on that first-round rookie contract, so they have him for 5 years on that rookie contract. Playing with the Kansas City Chiefs, Tyreek Hill's locked up, Pat Mahomes is locked up, Travis Kelce's locked up. He's playing this just gunslinger offense for 5 more years. And he looked really good throughout the year. Was he doing the numbers that I got on when I huge ran for and put up those running back high-end running back numbers? No, he did not. That's fine. Still a rookie. And he did it without being involved in the passing game, which really blew my mind. Once they can get Clyde Edwards-Helaire involved in the passing game, and then we saw he could do that in LSU, right? Dominated there, his contact balance, everything Clyde Edwards-Helaire does is very, very solid. To me, this is another guy you mentioned. If there's any dip in his value, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, even though I'm taking him here, is probably seeing a huge dip in value because he didn't finish a year. And I think people fail to remember that he was a running back 1 consistently throughout the whole year. So all the way up until he got hurt, so it's 13 weeks, he was a running back 1. That is no easy feat to do. And they brought in Le'Veon Bell.
When you say consistently, you mean like he maintained being...
He maintained being a running back 1.
I was going to say he had a lot of dip weeks.
He maintained being a running back 1 nonetheless.
Yep. Gotcha.
So yeah, of course, everybody has down week. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I get that too. That's a roller coaster. But and he had a lot of, when they bring in Le'Veon Bell, we were all worried about it. Le'Veon Bell's on a 1-year deal. He's gone. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to take a big step forward next year to the point where he's going to be still a running back 1, running back 6, maybe right around there with a potential to get higher. The sky's the limit for how much they get him involved in the passing game. And that's just an untapped resource that we haven't been able to see with his game yet, but we know we saw it in college that he could do it. We know.
Sure.
All three of us, we gushed over it during the scouting process.
His best asset. Absolutely.
Exactly. And it wasn't even utilized, and he was a running back 1.
He had like 50 catches or something like that, didn't he? Or was it more than that?
Over the course of the season, he had 36 catches this season.
At
LSU?
Last year at LSU. I think it was
something
around
around there.
Yeah, it was over there. So 36. Nothing. We were expecting a 75 reception season out of him.
Sure.
So look for that. So if you could double his reception input, say not even double, give him 20 more receptions. Like where is he then from running back? When he went out, I think he was running back 12.
He was running back 12. Yep.
He peaked at running back 9 at one point, I believe, right around like week 8, 9, because he fell down because he had a down week. Then he was running back 10.
Right.
But he is somebody, again, if you can give this guy another 25, 35 receptions, he's locked in right around that running back 6, running back 5 kind of number, right around there. That's elite fantasy player right here. This isn't somebody like, oh, this is a good pick. This is elite fantasy player here for the next 3 to 4 years again in your roster. Equal to J.K. Dobbins, equal to DeAndre Swift. I'm not gonna make the argument over like, oh, I would have taken him over J.K. Dobbins. I'm not arguing that pick. You know what I mean? But like, he is somebody, again, that nobody's talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the Dynasty community. There's tons of talk about so many rookies out here. J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. We're going to talk about more of these guys. Brandon Ayuk, right? They're talking town. Nobody is talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who is pretty much the consensus 1-1 or 1-2 for right after the NFL draft, all the way up to rookie drafts.
Yep.
And you could buy Clyde Edwards-Helaire right now. Remember after week 1, he had a huge game week 1. We're like, I remember I put a tweet out like, good luck trying to buy Clyde Edwards-Helaire now. It was impossible. That is not impossible today. And to me, it is so hard to get a running back 1, a legit running back 1 on your roster. We're talking about a lot of them today. I think of most of the guys we talked about already between Dobbins, Taylor, and Swift. I think Clyde Edwards would be the most affordable. All expensive,
probably,
but the most affordable of that group. And it blows my mind. Because J.K. Dobbins, even in the last quarter of the season, right? Like you said, he looked great the second half of the season. Weeks 13 through 16, he was running back 15 overall. Again, not utilizing the passing game, which was a little bit off, but we know Clyde Edwards-Helaire is better there too. So even J.K. Dobbins being more utilized and Mark Ingram being benched still wasn't on Clyde Edwards' level from a fantasy production point. I love the touchdown numbers for J.K. Dobbins. As he scored one every game, but you could use that as kind of a regression standpoint as well. If you want to argue that point, where Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a steady player and a much better offense.
Matt, you had the great stat about fantasy points per touch. Looked fantastic. The things that he was able to do over the course of the season, I think he really grew as a player. We remember that fateful week 1. Where he had a chance to win the game.
God-awful drop.
And just dropped the ball in the end zone. Was kind of a precursor for the entire season for the Detroit Lions, unfortunately. But here's another player. I love to see these guys come on strong. They're learning. They're growing as the year goes on. And that was definitely what happened with DeAndre Swift. Over the last few weeks, he had multiple touchdowns, multiple games where he was getting 4 and 5 receptions. And that's what I really like to see. My only concern here is if it's a new offense, if Matthew Stafford isn't back, what's going to happen there? But I think sometimes you just have guys that are too talented. It doesn't matter what coaching staff comes in. They're going to figure out a way to use him. And I think that's the point that we're at with DeAndre Swift. He did it between the tackles. He did it in the receiving game. He did it in all facets. And he really looked like an elite back towards the end of the 2020 season. I'm all in. I have him currently as my RB6 overall.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it. I would have taken him over J.K. Dobbins too.
I actually had him above J.K. Dobbins as well.
Yeah, I love DeAndre Swift for everything you said, and I think Stafford will be back. I think all these rumors, people talking about, the Lions might trade Stafford. What world are you living in that you're going to find any quarterback remotely as good as Stafford? Hey guys, where's Dan Campbell coming from?
The Saints.
Saints.
And was he an offensive coach with them?
Tight ends.
He was a
I know, but
he was a tight ends coach.
He worked with Sean Payton with the offense, right?
He did.
He did.
Wow. Well, who's their running back over there?
I think it's Alvin Kamara.
Latavius Murray.
Who's DeAndre Swift? Kind of like who would you like? DeAndre Swift's a pretty good offset comparison of Alvin Kamara, right?
They would compare
With a little bit more of a
nicely.
stanky leg.
I was gonna say I think he's got a little bit more between the tackles.
Yeah. So
A little beefier.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about this offense.
And plus
and
his
how it's
dad's,
gonna be
his
operated.
dad's guns are huge.
His dad's definitely beefier.
Yeah,
Definitely.
for sure. So I'm not worried about DeAndre Swift in this offense going forward. I'm not worried about DeAndre.
Big fan of James Robinson. He was a guy that I was talking about early on. We had debates on the show as to whether or not this is a real thing. Sure enough, it was. He ended up having a fantastic season, was injured the last 2 weeks, but up until that point, he was the running back 4 on the year. Still even missing those 2 games.
That's
he finished
good.
as running back 7.
Yeah, that's excellent.
So he had a fantastic year, and we're talking about a 1-win football team. This is not a team that was just up all the time, so we're going to run the football because we're always winning. No, These were terrible situations. These were not run scripts, and yet they still gave him the ball, and he still did a lot with it. And guess what? He gets Trevor Lawrence. He gets Urban Meyer, who really likes to feature one running back.
Yeah.
This is going to be a great situation.
Getting
for
Trevor
James
Lawrence
Robinson.
to Jaguars is going to be like giving him Viagra. They're finally going to be up, maybe sometimes a lot. So this is good news for them. Getting Trevor Lawrence, it's huge for him.
Maybe sometimes for 4 hours they got to go to the hospital.
Check their doctor.
Trevor, this game's been going on forever. Gotta call the doctor. Stiff.
But yeah, he just had such a good season. Over 1,000 yards rushing and surprisingly viable in the passing
49 receptions.
game.
Yeah.
49 in 14 games.
Yeah, for 300 almost 350 yards. Sorry, couldn't spit that out for some reason.
The 3 touchdowns as well. I remember the one towards the end of the season there. He had this nice over the shoulder catch by the pylon. He looks like a very, very legitimate NFL back. Yes, probably your patented 2 to 3 year window guy. I don't think he's an elite athlete or anything like that, or he probably would have been drafted.
Right.
But I think he's going to be a very good player for the short term.
But he was converting first downs too. He had 69 first downs combined, through the rushing and through the air. The only person that was higher than him was Jonathan Taylor at 81. So he's a guy that was moving the chains as well. He was in there a ton. I mean, obviously by the usage alone, but they like him all around. Obviously,
I like him.
yeah.
I think he's solid. They bring in Urban Meyer, who loves to run the football. He runs the football a ton. They are bringing in Trevor Lawrence, who's one of the best prospects to come out.
Ever.
Well, he's one of those
Yes.
generational quarterbacks. Once every 10-year kind of guys. These guys pop up. This time it's Trevor Lawrence. Last time it was Andrew Luck.
Antonio Gibson was kind of the belle of the ball there for a little bit.
It really was.
Anytime you can perform on Thanksgiving Day against the beloved Cowboys and just absolutely tear it up,
Go berserk.
he's going to move up people's boards. He absolutely did that. My biggest concern with him, because I actually had a pretty generous nerd score on him, despite not really getting to see him much at running back. Things I saw I really, really liked.
Yep.
My thing I was nervous about was the things that we were hearing from Ron Rivera preseason with gadgety and some of that kind of stuff. But then as soon as Darius Geist did all the things he did, they shipped Adrian Peterson out of town.
Yep.
You knew right away, all right, this guy has the chops to do it right now, and they're going to find that out. And they did. Over the second half of the season, early on, much like a lot of these running backs, early on it was meh.
A little hit or miss.
Yeah, it wasn't too great. Got around week 7, 20 carries for 128 yards. Week 11, he had 94 yards. Week 12, he had 115 yards. And even after having that injury that put him out for a few weeks, he fought his way back. Only had 1 week, I believe, he missed. Fought his way back in, 61 yards, 75 yards. He looked really good over the second half of the season. I don't see anybody coming in there and taking any touches because we know, like some of these other running backs, one of his best attributes is catching the football. So I think this was a steal to get him here. While he was playing, he was, I believe, as high as running back 12 or 13. So I'm really happy to get him here.
I would have taken him over James Robinson for sure. Finished the year as
But I
running
got
back 12, running back 1, weeks 1 through 16. He was running back 12 overall. And I'm with you. He's just, Washington needs to do a lot of things on that offense. running back's not one of them. He's a running back going forward.
Definitely. I mean, obviously the turf toe, I think, has dropped his value. Like you said, I think that's probably the reason you're getting him here. If we did this 4 or 5 weeks ago, he would have gone 7 or 8, I think, in my opinion. So, definitely a great grab here. Antonio Gibson, the running back of the future for the Washington
another very good
unnamed
dynasty
football
asset.
team. Yep.
Like I tell my wife, it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
There you go.